Uh, are they going to fix that? Are they going to... Hey, alright. Well, in that case, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, nerds and turds, to another live stream repair. We've got 3 HomePods that have showed up in the mail today that need to get fixed up. Pretty standard set of issues, at least what it seems. We've got 2 no power and 1 without base. Let's get our cameras fixed up here. And yeah, let's just jump right on into it. And of course, the big news that most people are buzzing out around right now is the new HomePod. Well, not many people are really buzzing about it, but we are. So, I already placed an order for one. It should be here February 3rd. So, as soon as that shows up, I will do, I don't know if I'll do a live stream or I'll record a video and do an upload. But I'll do like a side-by-side comparison of the old and the new one. Like sound and looks and what have you. And then I'll crack it open. Ooh, yes, brand new HomePod with warranty. And yes, I will be taking it apart. And no, Apple will not deny my warranty by me taking it apart. They would have to prove that me taking it apart broke it to deny my warranty claim. That's assuming I'd ever have to go through warranty. Hopefully they've got all the problems fixed out on them, and they should last much longer than the first gens, huh? Well, maybe not. We don't know. Well, anyways, here's our OG here, our first one up with no power, where you've plugged it into a... Quit focusing. We've plugged it into a known good power cable with our kilowatt here, and we can see that it's pulling around 4 watts of power. It just dropped down to 3, but it's usually around 4. This is all pretty normal for a shorted Schottky barrier diode on the amp. So, let's start taking this one apart. Where's my list? I hate Windows so much. Why does it take this long for me to open a command prompt? Oh, because it's not. There we go. Okay, and of course... Freaking... Trying to get my checklist up here. Sorry, folks. OBS task list overlay. Yes. What's the damn command to run this thing? Oh. Oh. Yeah, well, Windows restarted itself, which restarted the web server that runs the overlay that shows the progress of our repair there, so... node server.js. And then... There we go. Okay, so we've checked our symptoms. We are now moving on to disassembly. Less parts, less problems. Well, that's logical thinking. But you gotta remember, newer chipset, newer features, more things that can break. Yeah, I doubt the new temperature and humidity sensors are gonna crap out anytime soon. The display itself doesn't look any more fancy, at least from what I saw, than the OGs. Except now they've got the volume buttons printed on there like the minis, which I don't really like. I kind of get the idea behind it. Like, they want you to be able to see where the volume buttons are even if the display isn't lit, like this. But honestly, at the same time, when are you going to need to use the volume buttons when you're not playing something? And when you're playing something, the volume buttons are lit. When you're not playing anything, they're not lit. And it looks cool. But aside from the minor cosmetic difference, the fewer speakers, I mean, the tweeters have never been a problem anyways, so them downgrading it to 5 from 7, in the end, what really matters is what they do with all that power. You can make a 5-speaker speaker sound better than a 7-speaker speaker if you try hard enough. I mean, it's the same principle as making a 4-cylinder engine faster than a V8, right? Ooh. Sticky. Come on, there we go. Ah, easy peasy. I don't care how irreparable, putting that in big air quotes there, I don't care how irreparable this new HomePod is. Sell parts for it. We will find a way in. We just need the parts to do it. Or to do the repairs for things that can't be fixed. Oh man, I'm really hoping that the subwoofer is compatible. Wouldn't that be sick? Oh, then you could just buy a new subwoofer if yours roasts instead of having to harvest it from another used one, which is totally fine. But I think many people would rather choose the new one over the old one. Got a lot of junk in this screw keeping me from getting it in there. What kind of tricks are they going to pull on the new one that keeps us from getting in it? Are they going to try to pull any tricks? Or did they make it easier? Alright, I don't really like that screw, so we're going to replace it. Wow, this one's practically just falling right apart. If only they all did that. Uh-oh, grumpy baby. Oh, I wonder if she's hungry. Or she's pooping. Or she's got gas. Baby stuff. Looks good, feels good, smells good. Good, good, good. More glue, God forbid. Please, less glue. Just do pure screws and gaskets. That's all that's necessary. We don't glue engines together. You can't tell me a speaker needs to be glued together too. YouTube alerts do suck. They suck very much. I get alerts for all the channels I don't want alerts for, and I don't get alerts for any of the channels that I did want. Good times. Classic hits. Q 104.5. Well, so just to speculate also, between the old HomePod and the new HomePod, there's no chance that the amplifier itself is going to be compatible between the two because the amp screws into the tweeters on the OG. That's probably the case for the new gen too, but with fewer tweeters obviously between the two generations, there's no chance that those are going to be swappable. The subwoofer, from a glance, it looks like there's a chance it might fit, but I imagine they're going to make some small changes to it, probably to make it incompatible one reason or another. But it's going to be really close. Cosmetically, it looks like parts might be perfectly compatible. You might be able to stuff the guts of a new HomePod into the shell of an old one and vice versa. Or into the mesh and top cover and rubber base and perhaps maybe power cable. That's another thing I'm curious about is, did they add anything or change anything that'll make them more serviceable in terms of software? Will we finally be able to restore these damn things, or are you stuck with a wall outlet plug only and you got to solder a USB cable onto it to get it to connect to your computer to get a restore button in iTunes or Finder just to be told by Apple's servers you don't have access to this software to restore this piece of hardware? Suck nuts. Well, enough ranting for now. Let's confirm that this diode is dead. Yes, it is. That's a dead diode. Yeah, they'll move a screw hole, and it'll be some revolutionary reason. That's for sure. Well, so let me think about this for a sec. With the new right to repair law that's being passed in New York, even though we can't get individual components, it does say complete parts. So I wonder if they'll have to sell like complete HomePod parts. I don't care if I have to buy a whole board. That's fine. That's great. But I just want to be able to buy parts at all. I don't care how I have to, who I gotta, what I gotta. It is pretty gutted, but it does still say that they have to make available parts, like part assemblies. So, yes, they may still be able to get away with selling just an amp board, for example, instead of just the part on the amp board that failed. And it sucks that I have to be kind of like, well, it's better than nothing. But at the same time, it's not enough. It's not enough for what we really need. We need schematics. We need parts. We need the ability to restore the software on our own stuff. Like, if it bricks itself during an update. And it's 1 day out of warranty. Well, let's see if this power's on now. Get in there. What do we got? Yeah, it's by no means a real right to repair, but it's hard to say that it's even a step in the right direction, because it's kind of like saying we're okay with staying here when we're not. We need more than this. Man, the dream would be the first guy to get their hands on the new HomePod and to put out a video on it. Alright, we got no base, so I think we've probably got some dirty cables here. Let me clean them off real quick. Oh yeah, no, we got a bunch of crap in there. It actually looks kind of smushed up now. That's not good. Or is that just crud in there? Yeah, that's just crud in there. Why that baby grumbling? Why are you grumbling? Yeah, this cable's getting worn out. That's unfortunate. For me. Let's get the other side just to be sure. That should do it, unless my subwoofer's dead. Nope. We get a measurement on the meter when we poke it, so the subwoofer's probably still fine. Or we've got another HomePod that had no power and no bass issues. That would suck. Okay, and then we're just gonna make sure this is actually plugged in. There we go, dirty cables. So we've got, 1 millivolt of offset, 2 millivolts. Pretty good result there. So this one looks like it's all ready to go. Let's put it back together. Then we can move on to the next one. That's got no bass. She's like a month and a few days probably. Yeah, a month and a couple days now. Had to look at what day it was. I'm losing track of time. The days are blending together. Do you know how much they, 11 pounds? Jeez. That's nuts. No, our baby's, I think she weighs right around between 8 and 9 pounds right now. she came out weighing, what was it, 6 pounds, 2 ounces? Yeah. It might have a redesigned subwoofer, but I'm wondering how much of a redesign is it, and if it would perhaps fit. If it's just a different physical connector, you can just easily replace that. I'd have to take a close look. The basket looks different. The basket will probably look different because of the way that the display is sunk in a little more into the top. And they may have, I'm hoping they improved the design so that they don't feel that it's necessary to use this glue. But hypothetically, maybe, just maybe, you might be able to Frankenstein bits and pieces between the two. At the very least, it would be cool if we could take the cosmetic bits from the new gen and then slap them onto old gens that are all beat up. You know what? I want to look now myself. Hold on. Let's go to Apple HomePod new. Show me that speaker. I'm going to add a window capture. All right, that'll work. So here's that guy. What's this? Let me download it. This is .zip. What are you doing? Oh, can I not open this with a standard image viewer? Does Windows 11 not come with a standard image viewing tool? Really? So that's that one. And then if we go to my website, we can see our subwoofer here. Honestly, like, it's gonna look a little different internally because of the neodymium magnet as opposed to the old ferrite magnet that they used to use in the original gen. But it looks, man, I'm willing to make the crazy bet that it would physically fit and plug in without a problem. But I like to make crazy bets. Oh, you're on Apple Insider. I wonder if they have any more pictures than what I've seen. Oh, new HomePod versus 2018 compared. Oh yeah, hey, look at that. Yeah, well, still, it's not really much. You can't really say for sure. Is there... no more info, it looks like. I saw somewhere randomly, completely unconfirmed, that it was supposed to be a neodymium magnet now. But I guess we won't know until we get our hands on it. Or like an official source confirms or something. What's the difference in the submagnets? Ferrite magnets are just simply weaker. Neodymium magnets pack much more of a punch. Yeah, Robert knows what he's talking about. Neodymium. Oh yeah, that's definitely too much AVE for sure. So it's not necessarily about having more base with a stronger magnet. It's about having more control over that base too. It's not just pumping out more base. You want a tighter, more controlled base response instead of slopping some plastic and rubber around, you know? And with a stronger magnet, I'm not sure. Someone else that knows would have to confirm, but I would speculate with a stronger magnet, it would make for a more efficient subwoofer. So you wouldn't have to increase. So like, let's say that the old gen and the new gen subs are both 35 watts RMS. Well then, that 35 watts in the new gen is going to go farther with the more efficient magnet. It goes without saying, of course, yes, you'll inevitably have more bass out of it, but you'll have also more control over it as well. Oh, you know what? I think one of the big reasons why they took out two of the tweeters, I mean, I didn't realize this until now. I'm sure most people already did, but they probably took two of those tweeters out to save on cost, because the original generation already cost them $250 per unit to manufacture when you factor in R&D costs, parts and labor, and getting it to the consumer. It cost them $250 per unit, and I think they saw that people just weren't willing to spend quite that much money, $350 on them. So when they lowered the price, they saw more people buy them, and they were like, how can we get this price down enough to where we can sell them for this much, move enough units, without making too many compromises? And I think cutting out two of those tweeters was, if that's the case, would have been a pretty smooth move, because 7 is great. 7 is amazing. Dare I say, maybe even overkill. 5 is still plenty, but that's gonna keep people wanting the original generation over the new gen too. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Which means people will still be breaking them and sending them in to us to get fixed. So if they keep breaking, I'll keep fixing. So you got to think about how a speaker works, right? You've got a magnet. Eat shit. You've got a magnet, and you've got a copper coil that's moving in between that magnet. And the stronger the magnet, then the tighter. So like with a weaker magnet, that it's trying to move this piece of material. With that weaker magnet, it doesn't have as much ability or force or strength to keep that material from pushing out too far, and also from pulling it back in, because audio is an AC signal, so it goes forward as much as it will go backwards. So its ability to move the speaker forward and backwards as tightly, as quickly as possible, has a lot to do with how strong of a magnet you use, not just how much power you pump into it. That's why all these super high rated wattage speakers, just because it has a high wattage rating, isn't going to make it sound better. It's just they're just pumping more power into it. Not the greatest explanation, but maybe that helps. That is, it's an inverted speaker, so the magnet is on top of the cone. If you're talking about your Bose speaker, that's actually how the tweeter speakers are in the HomePods too, at least the original generation. The voice coil is actually, or the, oh wait, no it's not. No it's not, ignore me, I'm being dumb. But that's cool. That is cool. I'm gonna have to look at that. Maybe get my hands on one just to play with. The original subwoofer, or the original HomePods subwoofer, is rated for 35 watts. I don't know if that's RMS or peak. I have a feeling it's probably RMS. And the only source that I have on that information is an AliExpress listing. Or I think it's AliExpress or Alibaba, one of the two. A listing for used HomePod subwoofers. And they said in the description details that it was a 35 watt subwoofer. I have no idea how they came up with that number. But it does align with the power ratings for the amp chip that they use for these. So take that as you will. So RMS is essentially, let's find out. Let's get a good Google definition so I don't butcher it. RMS power, or root mean square power, which your remembrance of that acronym is correct and relevant to the term for talking about power ability of a subwoofer, or any speaker for that matter. But RMS power is just simply the amount of continuous power that a given speaker is able to sustain. You've got two different power ratings for a given speaker. You've got RMS power, which is the constant power that it can handle, and peak power, which, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. It's how much it can handle at peak, not sustain. So a lot of the cheap subwoofers that you see at like Walmart, or you go to Amazon or eBay or wherever, a lot of those and subwoofers and amps that you buy for like car audio that like have super crazy like thousands of watts of power supposedly, that's usually peak power, which doesn't usually mean a whole lot much. You care more about RMS power, which is what it's typically going to work at and what it can sustain. All right. What do we got? We've got power. So just to show you, this is a good little image here representing RMS versus peak to peak power here. Pretty good little infographic there. But yeah, the more you know.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Aren't we all?
I'm having trouble.
Everything checks out for this HomePod. It powers on, it plays sound, it lights up without a problem. So that one's all fixed up. Let's jump on to our next repair from Carlos with no bass. These ones are always a bit of a thrill because it's a bit of a gamble. You don't know if it's the subwoofer speaker or a different problem on the amplifier. I always prefer it not to be the subwoofer speaker, but the catch with that is it's then usually a problem with the amp. And if it's a problem with the amp, I may not be able to fix that. And then I'll just have to replace the amplifier and set the old one aside and get back to it one day. Not the ideal repair for me, but it's one that we can do. Tony, hello, hello. You are not late. You were just on time for the second repair. This one may be slightly more interesting than the usual. We will see. All right. So as always, we will start by checking our symptoms. It's powering on, that's what we expect. We've been talking pretty much the whole time about the new HomePods, mate. Let's see. I hope they've got parts available. I feel like even based on the New York law that recently passed for the right to repair that parts should be available. I don't care if I have to buy the whole amp. It's better than nothing, but it's a shitty compromise. But it's better than nothing. Looks like the new subwoofer may possibly be compatible with the old HomePods, which would be really good. And I'm speculating that a fair bit of the cosmetic parts are also going to be interchangeable between both as well, which would mean we can recondition a lot of beat-up old HomePods. Hey, look, that's me. Okay, what do we got? Talk to me. Do they have Siri turned off? Yeah, oh yeah, oh okay, well, it played a little bonk sound there saying that it doesn't have any music to resume, and I was able to tell just from that it's got no bass. Not much to really check there, so let's go ahead and take it apart and see if we can't figure out what's going on here. Oh, one other thing that I was talking about with the new HomePods was I think the main reason why they reduced the number of the tweeters was to reduce the cost, which, oh, look at me, Mr. Big Brain here. But it probably cut down enough for them to lower the price to $300, along with possibly the older Apple Watch chipset. They probably had a bunch of those sitting around. That's been kind of the theme with their HomePods, right, is using whatever parts they have sitting around and cobbling something together and calling it good. Credit where it's due, they use some damn good speakers with those other parts, but are we going to see a Nick HomePod 2 teardown? Yes, we are. My new HomePod, I ordered one, is due to be delivered February 3rd. And it would be the dream for me to get my hands on that and live stream the comparison and a teardown and a side-by-side between the old and new ones before anybody else. I know it's not going to happen, but I can pray and dream. Either way, even if I'm not first, second, third, or even if I'm last, I will be doing it as soon as it arrives. And if anybody else beats me to the punch, maybe I fix it, if anyone. That would be really good because they take some damn good pictures of their teardowns. So we can use those photos to do a deeper comparison between the two. If they end up putting a video or a disassembly out before we get our hands on one, which again is very likely. But I am 100% going to risk my warranty taking that thing apart, just for the sake of comparing the two and seeing what we can swap around. That'll be fun. You think the new HomePod will drop to $199 for Black Friday anyway? Well, I'm not waiting around till Black Friday, bro. This is a race. This is a race to be the first. And if not the first, the best. And if not the best, well, I don't know. I'm just rambling. February 3rd. It is due for delivery. I was honestly kind of surprised, because from what I could tell, nobody knew yesterday that there was a new HomePod. Everybody speculated, but nobody knew. There wasn't an official announcement. And then, surprise, today there's a new HomePod up on the website, and now the news is broke. But I thought all the new hardware was announced yesterday. I saw all the other new hardware that they announced, but I didn't hear anything about the HomePod. And I was looking till like not super late at night, but they will definitely have better connectivity to HomeKit. If anything, so I believe the Wi-Fi in the OG is 802.11ac, and the Wi-Fi on the new HomePod is 802.11n. But with the more capable chipset that supports more features, it supports Matter. It's gonna act as like an edge router or some shit like that. I don't know, weird Matter stuff. I'm not super into it, but in theory, it's gonna have better connectivity to the rest of your home than the original could ever dream of. I said this earlier. It's not about the amount of tweeters. It's not about the amount of speakers. It's what you do with those speakers. And it kind of goes against what I say about this being the best speaker for your money, because 7 tweeters and a sub for $300, you can't beat it. Nothing comes close. But I'll still stand behind that with 5 tweeters and a subwoofer for $300. Like I said earlier, it's not the amount of speakers necessarily that's the whole story. It's like a car engine. You can make a 4-cylinder engine much faster than a V8. It's what you do with that. What you do with that, all that potential. All I can hope for is less glue. Less glue, more screws and gaskets. That's okay with me. Watch them completely ditch all screws and go complete adhesive. That would be a complete kick in the nuts. They watched enough of our live stream repairs and they were like, hey, wait, that guy doesn't glue them back together. He just screws them back together. If we took all the screws out and just glued them together, we'd crush him. We'd end him. Let's do it! Yeah! Fuck him up. I don't know how I feel about that. 'Cause the existing tweeters and the OG HomePod have a frequency response from like 22,000 hertz all the way down to like 400 hertz or something like that, 400 or 450 hertz. That's a hell of a range. And then the subwoofer, of course, takes over the rest of that with a little bit of overlap. But, I've never had, personally, and keep in mind, this isn't an audiophile speaker, and I'll never say it is. It does put out some really great quality audio, probably better than any Bluetooth speaker could ever want, and better than any Sonos stuff that I've heard of. But it's not audiophile, and I think that's because they do too much magic to the sound before they pump it out to you. It's not a one-to-one, this is what the artist intended, this is what you're hearing. It's not like that. Apple does some twists and tweaks to the sound before you hear it. So yes, it's going to have high quality audio. Yes, it's going to be higher quality, in my opinion, than many of the other speakers out there. Any wireless speaker. Get out. Shit, I forgot what I was going to say. That's okay. So, our bass speaker actually seems totally fine. Awesome. That's all it needs is an EQ adjustment. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I was rambling about, was the fact that this is a high quality speaker. It produces high quality sound, but it's not audiophile because they change the sound. They tweak it. If you want audiophile grade equipment, you want something that's not going to alter the sound whatsoever. Just because something, however, just because it alters the sound doesn't mean it's low quality or bad anymore. And just because something is an audiophile grade doesn't mean it's good or great or better than something else that may be even audiophile grade. You sit two people down, one an audiophile and one that's a simple person that's not audiophile. Like myself, I'm not an audiophile. But I do appreciate a good sound. I'm not an audiophile, but I like something that sounds good. And if you put two speakers, one that's got the sound tweaked to sound better versus the one that's just the vanilla straight one-to-one sound, depending on how you tweak that sound, more people are probably going to prefer the sound that's altered as opposed to the original version. And that's the difference between something that's more audiophile versus something that's just not, in my opinion. Oh yes, Jeff. We're taking it apart. February 3rd, we've got our new HomePod showing up, and we'll do that. I've already tweeted about it, posted on the YouTube community tab, put it in my Discord server. If you're not following me on any of those places, then, oh goodness, you won't hear from anything about me until my live streams. But I always give people sneak peeks of anything worth giving sneak peeks for on various social media before I make any videos about it. You saw it, Jeff? Hell yeah. Jeff saw it. Who else saw it? Whomst? I'm kind of sad that they don't have different colors. But they probably did a little bit of market research and figured that people prefer the neutral colors more because they're going to fit better into more places in a house. Also, if you want to move it, you're not stuck with this wacky color HomePod that only fits in certain areas with certain aesthetics. So already I can see a little bit of damage. That 10 ohm resistor right here is looking pretty crispy. It's kind of in pieces. Everything else actually looks okay. I'm gonna hazard a guess since it has. Well, actually, let's go ahead and try to just power this up with our subwoofer just to be sure. My HomePod goes quiet for a second or two every so often. What troubleshooting should I do? Oh, the message deleted. Okay then. I guess they fixed it. That's just how my life is. A lot of the times people reach out to me with a problem or a question, and by the time I take a look at it or give an answer, it'll have fixed itself. Just by me merely looking at it, it'll have fixed itself. It's amazing. The HomePod was meant to be moved around. because it actually has it's got motion detection built in, and it'll sense if you move it, and it'll actually just do this weird sort of recalibration thing if it's sensed that you've moved it. It's not a portable speaker, no. And in that regards, yeah, you're correct. It's not a portable speaker, but they did make it with the keeping in mind that people would want to move it around. I'll say that. It may be a little bit different to open since you started to open on the top. Yeah, I saw that. Someone said it may be you might open it from the bottom like the Mini now. We'll see. Alright, so no bass at all and no DC offset. So what's going on? And they actually both started playing in sync for once. That's great. My favorite thing to do is to intercom the whole house. Funny noises, and you hear them all go off at different times. They're never in sync. I would do it now, but I think the wife is trying to sleep right now, so I won't bug them. I'm curious if we've got the classic shorted cap near the amp here. No. So this looks good, actually. Everything looks great, really. But I wonder if just that chip there being blown out, that little resistor there being blown out, is enough to keep this from working. So let's go ahead and replace the resistor first here and see what we get after that. Oh yeah, we've got our little plastic connector here. So that's for the subwoofer, and then we've also got this tall electrolytic capacitor right next door. I've got this little metal heat shield that I've fashioned and bent together. This is actually a piece of aluminum backplate from an LCD for an iPad Mini. But I've bent it to shape to fit perfectly over those two so that we can remove this resistor in particular, because it tends to blow up and fail like this when we've got a lot of DC offset. You want a Nix Fix beanie? Oh man, I gotta make clothes. I kinda hate the idea of like merch and like YouTube channels that like solely ride on like merch funding. But like I also really want to make some merch just for the sake of like putting out some cool designs. I've always wanted to make clothing. Or design clothing rather. Gnarly. Well then, let's prep the board in this new resistor here. Got some flux on there. I'm gonna tin up these parts. Nice. Nice. And here we go. Okay, folks, place your bets. Is that the only thing wrong with this? Is the bass gonna come back? Or do we have a mystery on our hands? Place your bets. Place your bets. What's going on? The amp chip on here looks to be in perfect condition, so I don't have a reason to believe it's that. Although good-looking amp chips have fooled us in the past. But it's pretty rare for those to fail. Okay, subwoofer, logic board, power cable, power. Oh yeah, quite lively. I think the announcement of the new HomePod plus the creative stream title has greatly contributed to the bustin', absolutely bustin' stream tonight. Thank you all for showing up. And if you aren't, please subscribe. Subscribe for subwoofers. Hold on. I hear clicking. He's just clicking. Interesting. There's one more thing I want to try. Huh. Nothing's sticking out. Let's just probe around for a minute here, see if we find any anything weird. I also want some side-by-side comparisons. So what's this read? 1700, 1600. Yeah, that was the tweeter amp catching on fire. That was pretty spectacular. Not sure what happened with that still. It's still working fine for them. It made it to them. They let us know that they got it and it's been working without a problem for them. So awesome. Oh. So we have a short somewhere else. We've got a new We've got a new one, folks. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I'm very excited. It's a new cause for no bass, and we've got a lead. That's my favorite. So, I haven't seen this before. And actually, let me grab the this one. This is a parts board, but it's got no sound. It's still complete otherwise. It just doesn't produce any sound right now for some reason. It doesn't produce any sound through the tweeter speakers either, so it doesn't have anything to do with the bass circuitry. So it's an okay comparison for us to make. But if we look at our caps next to the bass amp chip, they do not. There's a ground pin, and then there's a pin that's got resistance. But on this, oh well, now it's going up. What the? Electronics are fun. It was 100% showing a short. How close is this? It's a 4. I'm tempted to put this under the thermal camera and see if we can find something heating up, because it's no longer shorted. And I wonder... I'm doing a lot of wondering. Let me grab my thermal camera. Okay. I've got the thermal camera. Let's put this back together. Wow. Now I want to look at the back side of this, because that's where all the bass stuff happens. Interesting. All right, I need to take the imaging layer off. Yeah, pure thermal. The DAC is getting pretty warm. These resistors are getting really warm. This cap, or this guy's getting really warm. What the heck is going on here? All right, let's take a picture of this and then we will probe and find out what's going on here. Uh-huh. Why does my meter not like that? Huh. Oh, here we go. Apologies for the lack of talking here. I can't focus very well if I'm trying to ramble, and I can't talk well and work well at the same time. I can only do one or the other. Shut up. Shut up. Something is off because that's really low. So like if we read this resistor here next to the amp, that says 125, but on here it says 540. Something is dragging this stuff down, but I don't know what. What is that? Why does that look so crappy? Do you see that? This is what it should look like. And this is what it does look like. Is that the problem? Did we just get really lucky? So this is reading 1800 on there. Oh yeah, we figured it out, boys. Let's fucking go. Potentially new source of no bass issue. Oh yeah, let's go. So. I get really excited and forget to explain why I'm excited. There's a resistor near the amp chip that's responsible for powering the subwoofer that looks kind of crusty and is reading a very high resistance compared to other amps that we've been checking. It's going to be right there. Look at that nasty little bugger. So, let's pull it off. Oh boy. There we go. We'll set our board to the side and harvest another resistor here so we can... Well, the good news is we can just order more of these if this ends up being a common thing. But I don't have any on hand, so we'll pull it from another board here. Okay. Parts board to the side. There's our old resistor. Here's our new resistor. And the code on the resistor is... Hold on, let's use the camera for this. My eyes are getting old. uh, 487. Is that a 487? Oh, 4R7. So if we look up DigiKey's resistor decoder. Or conversion calculator, I guess. And we plug in 4R7. We get 4.7 ohms. And if we take our multimeter here, and we measure this old one, we get nothing. Because it's reading like 6,000 ohms. So the bad resistor was reading 6,000 ohms. The good resistor if I can get it on my probes, is reading 5 ohms. So 1 ohm higher. Well, actually 4.7 ohms is the rating according to the writing on there. So that's within tolerance. Also, you got to remember my multimeter is not that accurate, so we've got a good resistor. I think we've confirmed the problem. We just need to put it on there. See if our base works again. I am stoked, my dudes and dudettes. Listen, I mean, I look at the statistics, I know. Icky, sticky, gooey. Let's go. There we go. You get back up there. Let's make sure that's securely attached. Ah, that's hot. Awesome. It is on there. So let's give this a chance to cool down really quick. And we'll see if we've got our base back, baby. Perseverance pays off. I'm willing to bet this'll work. More power, baby. Hi Nick, what keeps the other components from moving when you heat the board up? Surface tension from the solder keeps the components stuck to the board. Also, not using too much airflow. My cheap little Amazon workstation here, I've got the airflow cranked up to max. So that's not really a problem. Please give me the base. Still no base? You're kidding. Oh, I'm sad. That means it's more than just that. It's still ticking, too. Careful. Careful, easy. What's next? So the DAC's not getting hot anymore, that's good. The amp chip is still getting really hot. And this one is getting hot. Oh shit, you guys weren't up close. So I believe this is a Zener diode, and there's 4 of them in the circuit, and only this one was getting hot. How can I test the Zener diode with this? It's been a while since I've messed with those. Please don't zap me. $681. Nothing. $730. $730. $530. That one's climbing. I do not understand half of what I'm seeing. Yeah, these are suspiciously low. Wow. Is it? I think we're just going to replace that Zener diode. Let's go for it. Oh, I gotta take all this junk off real quick. Yep, you can still only pair the stereo to get. You can't do anything more than two at a time. Pretty lame. I'm sure they'll improve that in the future if the HomePod shows to be popular enough. Yeah, it does look more difficult to get into in that regards. Okay, well that wasn't helpful. But let's go ahead and try for it anyways. Okay, how about now? Still no bass. Damn. I think we're going to have to just replace the amp and come back to this later. We'll do one more round of probing and then we'll tap out, yeah? So where's our no sound board? There is a short somewhere that goes away. It's very annoying. And now it's gone. Man, what is that? Something's just not quite right with this one. I don't want to table this, but I also don't want to take all night doing repairs. I got other stuff I need to do, so I guess we will save this one for a future endeavor. But that means we need to find another amp. Where are we going to find another amp? I think we might have fixed this one. Let's find out. Alright, let's see if this is working. Awesome. So we've got a working amp. We've got no DC offset. I've already put a new Schottky barrier diode on this one as well, so we can go ahead and progress forward and get this HomePod put back together. That no base amp board there is just gonna have to be one of those where I spend a whole day replacing everything until it just starts working again. That's how we figured out half the other problems. Lots of parts have been sacrificed. Lots of pods have suffered. But it's all in the name of repair. Oh, I guess we can take that off now since it works. There we go. Look at you. No, get out of here. I don't want to hear it from you. Ugh. Oh, one thing that I don't like about the new HomePods is the fact that they printed the volume buttons to the top, so they always appear whether the display is on or not. I personally find that less aesthetically pleasing than what they had on the OG, but it's probably going to make for easier use as far as people changing the volume if it's not already on. But that's the thing, if it's playing something, the volume buttons are lit, so you would need to change the volume if it's not playing anything, so why? Actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I said that earlier in this stream. My brain is going smooth. It's looking like a chicken breast. Talk to me. Oh, that's right. They had the... So here's what we'll do. Since they have Siri disabled and we can't really hear if it's working well or not, let's go ahead and just trigger a pseudo factory reset. We're going to let go before it actually resets. But I just want to hear that the sound is the way that it should be, at least.
Your HomePod is about to reset. Keep pressing until you hear 3 beeps.
Hello? Okay. So that sounded fantastic. I'm debating whether I factory reset this and do an extended sound test after the stream or not. But, we'll figure that out. We'll get there when we get there. So here's the last pod for repair today. Should be a pretty straightforward no power repair, unless we just jinxed ourselves. Let's roll that checklist all the way back to the top and check our symptoms. Plug it in with a known good power cable. It's not responding. And we've got the typical 4 to 6 watts of power draw for that classic diode short on the amp. Let's get on in there, see what's going on. Alright, time for Big Bubba. Let's go. Come on out. All of you. I ain't got time for your bullshit. Thank you, Big Bubba. Ah, much better. It's time for the prize. That's real. Okay, now that the HomePod has stopped trying to kill me, let's try to kill it. Nice. 4 is binding. Oh, nice click out of 4. 5 is binding. We'll come back to that one. Nice click out of 6. Almost feels like a false set. But I think we've got this open. $500 to Tim. Take it. Okay. Here we are again with our familiar friend, the Schottky barrier diode. It's got a date code of 1748K on it, so I think we all know what to expect. It's dead. Let's get it replaced. Do you keep a running tally of how many of these things you've saved from the landfill? In a sense, yes, I do. If you see this, if you see this tray on the left-hand side of our desk here, these are all of our parts that we normally use for most of our repairs. I'll go ahead and go over them really quick, since we've looks like we've got a little bit of time. Focus. So, up first, of course, you've got amp chips. This is the main chip that drives the bass speaker. Like I was saying earlier, these rarely fail, but they do. And so I've got a few different ones. I've got the OEM 980431 part from AliExpress. And then I've got a couple of off-the-shelf 4312Ms that you can just get from DigiKey or Mouser. And then we've got some older 10 microfarad capacitors that I used to use for filters to repair the death farts. These are actually kind of a mix and match of a few different ones. It's just kind of leftover parts. These are all used parts during repair attempts. So I replaced something. It didn't fix the problem, so I can usually assume that the part that I replaced, the old one, is still fine, so I put it in here. These are just other random caps. These ones. These are caps that I've pulled off of death farts boards, along with all of these. So these are all the death farts. Just keep in mind, there's 4 per pod. And then on the bottom row, we've got our brand new Schottky barrier diodes for the no power repair. We've got 0.1 microfarad capacitors. We've actually got 2 different sizes in here. We've got the bigger size, the size, I think this is 1206, and then we've got a really small one. And these are for right here, this tiny little cap next to the diode. People doing their own repairs tend to lose this cap. So I've got replacements of the same size. And then we've also had a handful of people just utterly destroy this area of the board. And these pads just get ripped out. So what we end up having to do is run trace wires. And when we do that, it's a lot easier to use the trace wires with the bigger caps. So we just relocate that tiny little cap for a bigger one elsewhere on the board. Makes it a little bit easier instead of trying to deal with this teeny tiny little one if you've got no pads left for it. Anyways, moving on, we've got the brand new 10 microfarad caps that we use for our death farts repairs. And then this is the pile of used diodes. So every HomePod that comes in for repair gets a new Schottky barrier diode. It doesn't matter what the problem is or what date code it's got, it gets replaced. So these are the used ones that were still working from HomePod repairs that came in for... They didn't have power issues, their diode was fine, but we replaced it anyways. So these are all the old used ones. And then these are all the dead ones. There's got to be at least 300 in here alone. So this plus this equals how many HomePods we've repaired, give or take 20 to 50. I didn't keep the first 20 to 50 of the diodes that I was doing repairs for when I first started. I didn't really think about it, didn't think things would take off as much as they did, but they did, and I started keeping them. And I do plan on doing like a quick little video, just literally just doing nothing but counting how many we've got here now, and confirming again that all the ones that failed have the 1746 or 1748K date code, versus all these used ones that we've pulled off of all these other repairs that are all over the place for date ranges. So we know they've used different date ranges, and we know that they are in HomePods, but we continue to see that date range fail. Goes without saying, correlation isn't always causation, right? So just because we see all of these with the same date code failing and none of them with other date codes failing, doesn't mean that it was a bad batch within that date range. It could still be possible that they simply had so many of these ones with these date codes that were dead, or part of that bad batch. Let me take a step back. It could be that they just had so many of these date codes in production that we're going to see those fail before we see the far fewer other date codes that were being used. Hope that makes sense. I'm really doubting it, because looking at the ratio here of dead to used ones, there's got to be at least 100 used ones in here. So I would say probably... and it's hard to say. So anyways, those are the Schottky barrier diodes, and then we've got some 27 microfarad capacitors that we've harvested from other amp boards. This is that cap that tends to fail and cause no bass. We've got our 10 ohm resistors. Those tend to blow up with too much DC offset. And yeah, dead diodes. That's pretty much it. That's our parts tray. Okay, let's get back to this guy, and we need to put some solder on that new diode before we put it onto our board. You're stressing me out keeping the bad caps anywhere near the good ones. Oh boy. And that stress is not unfounded. I have dropped my parts trays multiple times and gotten parts all mixed up. But the visual difference between the original caps that Apple used and any of the replacements that I've bought are different enough that I would immediately notice that I grabbed the wrong one or it got mixed up somehow. But that aside, the bad caps are on a completely different side of the tray than the good caps. So I put a little thought into it, a little bit of thought. I actually recently got this tray. I was using this, and this is what I kept spilling things in. Even with the lid on it, it still let things jumble around and get mixed up. So I found this at the Container Store, and it also has a lid on it. And what I like about this is I can just completely take the lid out, and it doesn't need to be in the way taking up desk space. But I don't have to worry about things getting mixed up either. Seals up nice and well. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I haven't spilled my tray of parts at least 5 times in the past year. It is a very, very sad experience picking up thousands of very tiny components out of your medium length carpet the day after you just got your new DigiKey or Mouser order and just reorganized everything. Good stuff. Alright, we got our new Schottky barrier diode on. That should let this board power up. Just get them in the pick and place rolls. I don't think I can. Well, okay, no, that's a lie. Some of the parts I don't think I can get in a reel without ordering a certain quantity, and for a lot of the parts I just cannot afford or can really justify ordering so many of some of these. But for the ones that do allow me to reel up a reasonable number of, or a reasonable quantity, it costs like $5 to $10 extra sometimes to have them put it in a reel, and honestly I'm a little cheap. I'm not going to spend that much extra when I can just pop it in my tray here and waste hours of my life every few months cleaning up the mess, you know? Haven't had a problem since getting this new tray though. It works pretty well. Maybe I'm getting less clumsy too. We've got power! Oh, Tim, to your point, you were saying, like, I know you can tell which is which with the multimeter in regards to the bad caps being near the good ones. It works. In a lot of cases, when these caps go bad with this specific nature of failure, they still measure within normal capacitance. So that alone isn't normally good enough to tell whether you've mixed up your good or bad ones. That's why, I don't know, I've just gotten really... I've got an eye for the differences between these tiny little guys here. I can tell which ones look different. Oh, how much offset do we have? We've got 1 millivolt. Excellent. Couldn't really ask for much better. Let's put this thing back together. Let's get out of here. Let's go to bed. That's also why one of the reasons why we just replace all 4 of them instead of just the one that's bad. We can't really figure out which one is bad. Not at least without spending really more time than it's worth testing them more effectively. I'm not even sure how you could do it. You'd have to probably pump them up with some voltage and a little bit of heat and see if their capacitance drops or not. But honestly, it takes less time and thus money to just replace all 4 of them. And we also don't want to mix the parts up. We don't want to keep the old Apple ones on there and mix them up with new parts that aren't exactly the same. And we don't trust them either. Ooh. Alrighty. I'm looking forward to that. Nice little break from the pods. Get in there. That's right, the probably damaged USB port short or corrosion on the screen cable from a liquid spill. The lowest setting, the LCD backlight flickers. That could be a few things. It's been a while since I've worked on any display problems. I'm trying to remember. That's like a fairly common symptom for a specific type of component failure when it starts to flicker at low power. Unless you like visually confirmed corrosion, you're like, oh yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, that's great. I have visually confirmed me spilling the liquid. Yeah, I would maybe leave the battery unplugged too if you plugged it back in, just in case. Don't want the corrosion to short something out suddenly and damage more things. Corrosion's a bitch. 'You've been using it since 2014 with liquid damage. That's amazing. Good job, little MacBook. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it would have done as much damage as it could have. 4 years, though, is a pretty good run. When it was already 2 years old. With liquid damage. Yeah, those keyboards. That was... I remember when those things came out and like that was a widespread known problem with the keyboards on the MacBooks. And one of my roommates bought one against all of our advisement. And they still they ended up hating it. I think they returned it or soldered or something and ended up getting a surface. Using the shit out of that. But it started, their MacBook started having keyboard problems, and we were all like, we told you so. Told you, bro. We told you, bro. Did you think you were special? I'm not an app developer. I don't know how to code, but I have used Xcode a fair amount at my day job. Doing a lot of like mobile, just general mobile app testing. Honestly, like what happens is I find a bug, I log it, the mobile dev team is unable to reproduce it for the life of them, and I end up waiting weeks for this like big bug to get fixed, and they can't figure it out. So I just say fuck it, and I break out my MacBook, I load up Xcode, I plug my phone in via debug mode, and I run the app through the phone, and I reproduce the issue, and I tell them, hey, here it is, it's plugged into Xcode via debug. Remote into my stuff and figure it out, please. And we've gotten a few bugs solved that way. Because apparently some of these issues are only reproducible on my device. Which in some cases that's true. But man, was it such a huge pain in the ass getting to the point where I was able to just load a debug build of our app onto my phone. Yeah, I think it must have taken me like 2 or 3 days just getting it working. It only took me like 15-20 minutes to reproduce the issue when I first set it up though for our dev team. And I haven't touched it in years. So I'm sure next time I need to pull that out and use it again, I'll have to go through that whole rigmarole. Check out the code. Load it up. Dick with Xcode for 2 hours until it stops complaining. And it's like it worked perfectly fine on one machine, and you go to another machine and you check out the code, load up the app into Xcode, and it's like build errors. Some provisioning bullshit. Bro, I'm not trying to hack anything. I just want to load the app and test something. Why is it so difficult? Why do I have to jump through so many hoops? I think I was just on autopilot mode for a good last 10 minutes there doing this, putting this back together. I do not remember doing any of this just now. I'm going crazy. Kind of like that like highway hypnosis thing that people get into where there's this like phenomenon where people just go on full autopilot, not actually like paying attention to driving. They're just like mentally somewhere else, but they're still like actually driving at the same time, like subconsciously. That just happened to me putting this back together. It feels wrong. Oh, I was just thinking that. You were spot on. Is it fixed? Yes, it is. Never understood the phrase one for the road until I drove through Montana in summer with a broken AC and it was like 2 hours between even small towns. Oh, yeah. Oh. Show me the beans. Give it to me. Speak.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Yes.
I'm having trouble.
Don't raise your voice at me. Yes. Everything checks out. Oh yeah, speaking of drinking and driving, Tim, you heard Washington like lowered their DUI the BAC level for getting a DUI went from 0.08 to 0.05. So that's it for today, folks. We got everything fixed up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you're looking for more information on doing your own repairs or sending your HomePod in, be it the whole thing or a specific part, to be repaired here on the channel, check out the website, nixfix.com, where I've got everything you're looking for. Leave a like, do it while it's free, subscribe if you aren't, and I'll catch